Hello once again, and welcome to another edition of the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. I'm joined by the Chief Agricultural Editor of SaskAgToday.com, Kevin Hursh, and 620 CKRM Regina AgriNews Director, Ryan Young. I'm Doug Falconer, Agriculture Director at GX94 in Yorkton. And the week that was, when we look back, I guess one of the big events, of course, was the SARM Mid-Term Convention in Saskatoon. That was something you were monitoring pretty closely, Ryan.
One of the big things out of the midterm convention was the 21 resolutions that were voted on by delegates at the midterm convention in Saskatoon. And they kind of ran the gambit on various things from how SARM does business to limiting the term of presidents and vice presidents to 3 consecutive 2-year terms. That was kind of an interesting resolution to how ditch mowing should be done at RMs and various things that members want SARM to lobby the provincial or federal governments on. And one of the things that kind of stuck out to me most was again that term limit for president and vice president to 3 consecutive 2-year terms. Kind of interesting debate on that as well. There was one guy who was for it, saying, what's the point in developing leaders if they're not going to be able to have an opportunity to ascend into those roles? And another delegate who was against it, reminding people that if you don't like what the current executive is doing, there's an election every 2 years, so step up. So ultimately, that resolution was defeated. Another one that kind of stood out the most was strychnine, as of course every farmer is very familiar with strychnine and its application. It hasn't been used for quite a while, but they passed a resolution to call on SARM to lobby both the provincial and federal governments to try and reinstate the use of strychnine. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes, as well as wind power and wind turbine projects. That was another kind of interesting thing that brought up some debate on it. The RM of Weyburn introduced that resolution to call on SARM, or rather the provincial government, to implement regulations and standards on wind turbine projects, because right now there really isn't a whole lot, if any. If anyone wants to do that, they have to do their own research. And I believe there's one RM in particular that did do that, but they mentioned that they had to do a lot of the digging and work themselves. So I believe that was passed, and so we'll see where that goes from there. But a lot of these resolutions too, they passed or they were defeated with quite a large majority.
Kevin, your thoughts on any of those resolutions?
Well, I think with all due respect, I think they got the strychnine decision wrong. Strychnine certainly has been an effective tool for things like gopher control, but has some bad effects on other species that pick up the carcasses. And research has shown that some of the other products, particularly the oat bran bait stuff, and I can't tell you what the active ingredient is pretty much as good as strychnine. Some people still swear that strychnine is better, but I've used both over the years, and I'm reasonably happy with what's currently available as the oat bran bait that's out there and being marketed, and the fact that it's much safer for other species such as hawks that may be picking up carcasses. Just a different mode of action, so it's not poisonous to something else coming across a dead gopher laying on the top of the ground. So I'm not sure that they got that right in my opinion. The other thing with really interesting on wind turbine projects, and I think that should resonate with the provincial government. Do the research, tell people what research is available out there on land use. Is it deleterious to birds and migratory birds? How many? What are the pros and cons? I think a lot of people go looking for the information. They don't know what is credible. They don't know when a new development is coming to their area, what it will actually mean. So I think there could be a white paper produced that would explore all the pros and cons and the credible research that's available so that people can make their own decisions and rural municipalities can make their own zoning provisions based on better information.
Kevin, what did you think of the perhaps limiting terms for the president and vice president of SARM?
I have mixed views on that. Certainly, it's the history of SARM presidents to stay in that role for a decade or so. And but quite rightly, if somebody wants to challenge the president, they have every right to do so every time it comes up. That just typically doesn't happen. I don't remember ever hearing of a current SARM president being deposed by a challenger. So in some respects, it is good to have turnover. In some respect, it's good to have ongoing experience. But I do tend to the idea that if you don't like what's going on, get involved and elect somebody else.
I think one of the other points they made was during there was on the capital gains tax, I think, right, Ryan? I think there was a resolution on that to lobby Ottawa to do away with their changes to the capital gains tax. I think it was like 96% in favor, not surprisingly.
Yeah,
So,
that was one of the highest approval ratings for any resolution that day on Wednesday.
And I would imagine most farmers would agree with that, Kevin?
Most farmers would agree with that. I don't think that very many people on any taxation level wouldn't vote for less taxes. I think we're hugely overtaxed in this country. That being said, farmers have a lot of favorable status when it comes to taxes. And I'm not sure that some of the analysis on the changes to capital gains tax inclusion rates is really reflective of what most small to medium-sized farm operations will face. I think they've got a fair bit of leeway before they're going to be paying a lot more in capital gains tax, but certainly some of the large operations will be paying more capital gains tax. And like I say, everybody's overtaxed, but farmers have favorable status compared to other businesses in most instances.
Another topic we wanted to touch on was that Regina-based AGT Foods has announced the sale of its shortline rail and its bulk handling facilities to GCM Grosvenor. Is that anything of interest to most farmers out there, Kevin?
It's a big transaction. I'd never heard of GCM Grosvenor before, but by the news release, they are a large entity. It probably frees up financial capital for AGT Foods. From a farmer's point of view, probably not going to see much of a change when it's the bulk loading facilities and the short line, the extensive short line infrastructure. Another company can handle that just easily as well. And I don't think farmers will see a big change, but it certainly is a big business transaction and should free up some capital for AGT.
That was some late breaking news this week, and I understand, Ryan, you had a chance to speak with Murad El-Khatib. We'll have something on that next week.
That is correct. And just to get a little bit of a better sense of what that deal means and what the plans are moving forward from an AGT Foods perspective. And from what I was able to gather from my conversation with him, he said that this will allow AGT Foods to have that capital from the sale of their short line and bulk infrastructure to invest in additional processing facilities in the province. So this is all kind of in an effort, he said, to grow the agricultural sector and grow the business in the province. And at the same time, too, they also signed a 20-year partnership with this company that they sold the shoreline infrastructure to so that they can still use it. But in terms of a farmer's perspective, it's just a change in ownership. And Murad said that there really isn't going to be a change in business. It'll be business as usual.
To hear. As for the markets, canola really took a beating this week on the futures markets, ICE canola futures. Sounds like wheat was up a bit. You had a chance to speak with Adam Pacalo about that, Ryan.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good week for canola, especially, and even just kind of looking at the grain prices from the Moose Jaw Viterra terminal that I look at on a regular basis, they started Monday at 586.62. That's the closing price on Monday. And it closed Friday afternoon at 533.82. So that's quite a considerable drop over the course of 5 days. But the biggest factor when it came to that big drop for the January contract was a drop in other oilseed prices as well. From soybeans to palm oil, they really had a hard week as well. So that was the main driver of canola going down this week. And as for the December Minneapolis wheat contract, we're kind of getting to that point in the month where the contract is going to be no longer active pretty soon, and it's going to switch to the March contract. And it had a bit of a positive week, up roughly 15 cents a bushel on the week. Adam cited the ongoing conflict in Russia and Ukraine as one factor, as well as some U.S. Winter wheat drought-related news in the States as another factor as well.
Your thoughts on the prices, Kevin?
Yeah, terrible week for canola. Dropped steadily from starting Tuesday right through the end of the week with large drops. And on a cash basis, as Ryan stated, well over $1 a bushel is no longer available for delivery on a cash basis for canola. So that's a terrible week for the crop. And I think one of the factors that is affecting all of the oil complex is just uncertainty over biofuel and renewable diesel policy when the new American administration takes over after the January 20th inauguration of Donald Trump. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of people just not knowing where that's going to go, and that's one of the factors that has been involved. Markets don't like uncertainty.
Speaking of the inauguration of Donald Trump, we're still waiting to hear who will be his agriculture secretary. Have you heard any other news on that front, Kevin?
Well, speculation has it, and again, from some relatively credible sources, even though they're posting it on X or Twitter, which maybe people don't consider as reputable, but from some sources that should have an idea. Some are expecting a former senator named Kelly Loeffler to be appointed as Ag Secretary in the U.S. by President Trump. This isn't confirmed. Could change. Haven't been able to look up her credentials very closely, save that she was involved with a financial services company and served a short term as senator and was involved in the Trump election campaign. But that will be a name to watch and see if that comes to fruition. Again, Kelly Loeffler.
Interesting. And of course, Canadian Western Agribition is about to start in Regina. It runs Monday through Saturday at the Real District. And Ryan, you've been talking with Sean Kindop all week on that.
It was quite the extensive conversation. We talked on a variety of different things, from how preparations themselves are going, which Sean said is going pretty good. At this point, it's kind of a very efficient system that they have going to convert the whole Real District into what it needs to be to accommodate Agribition, as well as some of the events that are going to be on offer. There's a wide variety of sales that will be showcased at Agribition, as well as Maple Leaf Finals Rodeo. They're going to crown another Miss Agribition this year. It'll be the second rendition of that contest, as well as the Animal Ag Tech Awards. That'll be back for a second year as well. And a trade show. From what I understand from Sean, it's sold out this year. There's a lot of exhibitors that are going to be there. So that'll be something to look forward to as well, and something for everyone as well. And I'm looking forward to being there all week. Hopefully I can get another cow to do an interview with. I tried that last year, no success. So hopefully there's one cow out there that's a little more cooperative.
And Kevin, your thoughts on Agribition?
It's interesting that Lawrence MacAulay, our federal agriculture minister, who was in China this week, and good on him for trying to make some trade inroads in China when our relationship has not been very good there. I see he will be is named at being at burning of the brand along with other dignitaries. So not Lawrence McCauley hasn't spent, in my estimation, a lot of time in Saskatchewan. Good to see him showing up for Agribition, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk to him. And I'm coming down for part of the event. Won't be there like Ryan is all week long, but hope to take in the Grain Expo and see if there's any news from the speakers at that part of Canadian Western Agribition.
And to just kind of add to that as well, the new provincial agriculture minister, Daryl
Yes.
Harrison, will be there. So that'll be another name to kind of look out for and check out. And some farm groups will be there as well, not the least of which the Saskatchewan Cattlemen's Association. They got a booth set up over there. So everyone's coming out to see the latest and greatest with cattle genetics and a whole lot more.
And Ryan and I will be co-hosting SaskAg Today from Canadian Western Agribition in Regina on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we will be there working together, and hopefully we can get Kevin on the show then as well. So that's something to look forward to next week. So on that note, that'll do it for this week's edition of the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. On behalf of Chief Agricultural Editor of SaskAgToday.com, Kevin Hursh, and 620 CKRM Regina AgriNews Director Ryan Young, I'm GX94 Yorkton Agriculture Director Doug Falconer saying so long until next time.